What's up? My name is Devin. I also go by Infinite or Proud by Infinite, and today I'm gonna share with y'all the 6 techniques that changed how I made Detroit beats forever. Now, I don't want to waste y'all time, so we're gonna get straight into it. Now, the first technique that really helped me sauce up my Detroit beats is using pianos that have heavy effects on them, or pianos that are layered with other sounds. So when I first started making Detroit type beats, I would just get a piano and just try to like make a melody like that. And I always wondered like why I can never get my pianos to sound like other Detroit producers or really just get that vibe. And I just noticed that when I started using different piano sounds, ones that are layered with other sounds or have heavy effects on them, it just changed everything and it made everything so much easier. So me personally, I have been using a lot of the Omnisphere and Keyscape combination presets that they have because, for instance, this one right here has a piano and it's layered with some strings, so it gives it like a really cool texture. But I do know some very prominent Detroit producers, and I know that they swear by Nexus. Like Nexus is like the godfather of Detroit beats, but I don't have Nexus, so I just try to make it work with other stuff. Now, if you don't have Omnisphere or Keyscape, because those are incredibly expensive, you can mess with this 313 VST. This is made by like Detroit producers, so all the sounds are already like made for Detroit producers, and the keys in here are really good for these types of melodies too. Stuff like that. Now, as you can see, piano, layered, heavy effects is going to help you get that sound really easy. All right, so now you have the sound you're going to use for the main melody. What's step number 2? And that's how to make fast-paced melodies that is so iconic for the Detroit sound. So this is the one that I made right here for this beat. Now, if you look at this MIDI right here, what is something that you notice? You got your guess? All right, I'm gonna show you real quick. So we're in the scale of E minor. So we're gonna go to this E note right here. I'm gonna highlight all of them. Now, what do you notice? There's an E note on every single beat. So if you wanted to make a melody like this one right here, a great way to start is going to the note of the scale that you're in, E minor. So we're gonna go to E, and you're just gonna place one on every beat. And then once you have this for a foundation, what you can do is just go in and try to fit the other notes that are going to be making your melody. And if you kind of like don't know where to go or start when it comes to like these types of melodies, a great place to start is these 2 notes that are right next to each other in the scale, and these 2 notes that are right next to each other in the scale as well. And the reason why you want to stick with those is because they cause a lot of tension when they're right next to each other. So it kind of helps you get like a really cool dark sound. So if I wanted to make a melody like how we did right there, I would just pick one note. I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds good. Are we gonna go up or down from there? You make that decision for yourself and then try to go from there. So I'm gonna go up just because why not? You know what I mean? And then you just keep on like plugging in notes and experimenting and just trying to figure out what sounds cool to you. And just really make sure to take your time with that process too, because the main melody is going to be like the backbone of the beat for you. So when you get something like this, just make sure to take some time with it. You feel me? All right, so boom, we went through tip number 1 and then tip number 2. Now, what's tip number 3? Hold up. I just wanted to let y'all know that I'm doing a 30% sale off of Gatekeep Sounds. So if you need some sounds for your West Coast or Detroit type beats, because you know, West Coast Detroit, we like cousins like this for real. Make sure to hit the link in the description. I have a whole bunch of drum kits, analog lab banks, MIDI kits, anything you think you need, I got it right there. And I'm going to be doing this limited exclusive sale for only the people who see this video. So if you made it to this part in the video, thank you very much. Go get yourself a little gift for yourself. You feel me? So the third is going to take that melody and just make it more unique to you, and sometimes possibly elevate it because you're making it unique. You feel me? Now, one thing that I like to do when I'm trying to get a little bit more experimental with these Detroit type beats is I'll take that little 2-step method that we just talked about with getting a cool piano and making a fast melody. But what I'll do is I'll change out the sound for something more unique. So for instance, I'm using this ending profit preset that is in Patch Play. I think it's in the analog section, I want to say, of their analog lab banks. And I just plugged the original melody into it. So if we go over to the Omnisphere one, which just has like a regular piano that you would use for a Detroit beat. That's dope. There's nothing wrong with that melody. But if you just kind of want to stand out, be a little bit more unique, just try taking this MIDI and just experimenting with different presets, because sometimes you can get things that are kind of crazy. Like for instance, with this, like that's kind of crazy. It still kind of has that vibe, but it's different enough to be like, ain't nobody else is doing a melody like that. You feel me? And then here's what it sounds like in context with the beat. That's hard. It's like different too. That's tough. That beat's tough. And you know what? If we just change this to this right here, like it's still great. Even if we take it, pitch it up. Yeah, I mean, it's still a good beat. But like I said, just trying to make it more unique. I don't know, that's just a little bit more tough to me. You know what I mean? There's a time and place for everything. Sometimes you need that regular piano melody just to stay true to the sound and the culture and everything like that. But then there's other times where you kind of just want to vary from that and just do your own thing. You feel me? This is one of them times. All right. Tip number 1 is done. Tip number 2 is done. Tip number 3 is done. What's tip number 4? Something that is very important to the sound of Detroit beats is layering the 808 with a synth bass or a deep piano. Those they both work together. Or sometimes you could do all three, but you gotta be really careful. You know what I mean? Because it can get muddy really quick. Like for instance, on this beat right here, I did have like the synth bass, the deep piano, and the 808 go at the same time, but it was just a bit much, even with like EQing and mixing. So I was just like, you know what? We could just take the synth bass out. You know what I mean? It just didn't work for these specific presets. But if you did want to mix some synth basses and 808s at the same time, what you would do is you would just go over to wherever your synth bass is. For instance, this one is right here, and you just cut out the low end. You know what I mean? And there isn't like a specific perfect number that you could EQ to every single time. You kind of have to play around because every single preset is different and every single 808 is different. So you kind of have to just EQ and figure it out. But for instance, this one right here, I'd probably cut out a little bit more, and that'd probably help make room for the bass. So if you just go right here and try to play everything at the same time, that works. Oh, and if you were curious what deep piano I'm using the SRX piano. It's my favorite deep piano to use. And then I'm also using this bass from Oddity. It is the Chameleon Bass Herbie. Now, before we do get on to the next tip, the deep piano, you can cut out the low end for the 808 and everything like that, but I would say play around with it, because sometimes like having the low end from the deep piano kind of adds a certain vibe. Like technically you're not supposed to do it like that, but sometimes it just sounds good with the beat. So I would say play it by ear. If you feel like you need to cut it out, cut out that low end. If you don't feel like you need to do it, then don't do it. You know what I mean? Like it's art at the end of the day. So some things just have to take some feeling. This one personally, I didn't really cut out that much low end. I really just went to this little knob right here and I just went all the way down. I think I just turned it to the left a little bit. I was just playing it by ear. Now, tip number 5 of the 6 tips that helped me elevate my Detroit beats is 808 switch ups. You would have your normal pattern like this. But then like halfway through the beat, or maybe for like a verse or something like that, it would switch up to something a little bit more like this, where it's just way more busy. And doing that really just kind of like elevates the beat and keeps it more interesting. And it also creates moments for the rappers to kind of like amp up what they're doing. You know what I mean? So for instance, instead of doing this right here, could do something like this. It's kind of like building up anticipation. Like you just get more hype. You can feel the difference. You can feel the change in energy when that 808 switches up and gets like way more repetitive and fast paced. So that's something that I really recommend to people if they're trying to do like Flint or Detroit beats. I'm sorry, I'm from California. I don't really know the difference. But that's just something that I noticed in the music. And then for number 6, the last and final tip that changed the way that I made Detroit beats forever is to treat the tubular bell like it's its own melodic instrument. Now, whenever I used to use a tubular bell in Detroit beats, I would just put one right here and that's it. Because whenever I thought of a tubular bell, it was something to add impact or just make something hit harder like a melody or a full-on beat. But what I noticed in these Detroit beats is that they use it like it's its own like melodic instrument, just like how you would do like a bell pattern, a string pattern, whatever, you feel me? They would go in and just make these like crazy, like cool repetitive patterns and stuff like that. So once I started doing that type of technique within my beats, I felt like I got the vibe of Detroit beats way more. So I'm going to go through the 3 beats that we've been playing today. I'm going to show you the tubular bell patterns in each one so you can really get an idea of like the cool things that you could do with it. Now, this one is probably the most experimental one that I did out of all of them, but I thought it was really cool when I did it. Basically, I'm just kind of like making it delay. Like I'm kind of doing a manual delay. So I have like the main one playing like right here and right here. But then on the second one, I dug down the velocity, and changing the velocity is going to help out a lot. So listen to it like this. I'm also panning. Yeah, I mean, just keep it more interesting. But if they're all the same velocity like this, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really hit the same. So changing that velocity is going to really help you get that groove. And then for this beat, it's just like that first one on the impact. And then you just kind of like make something bouncy. This one is more on the simple side. And it's like really repetitive. It's just that the whole time. But for the sound and the genre, it's cool to be repetitive. Like you can do whatever you want. You can make it less repetitive if you want. You can make it more repetitive if you want. But like being repetitive isn't necessarily a bad thing within this sound. And lastly, for the tubular bells, you can do something very simple like this right here. And something simple as that can just really elevate your Detroit beats. And another thing that you can do with it is you can use the tubular bells moving in that pattern like that as a way to kind of like hype up energy or change up the arrangement that you have to really like spice it up for real. Because what we can do is we can go make this one unique. Then we can just really only have it hit once every 2 bars. And then when we listen to it, it's gonna really turn up right here. And it's gonna like amp the energy up. You know what I mean? Like you can physically feel the energy get amped up more right when that comes in. If you really want to take it another level from there, do that change when you do the 808 change. Really turn the energy up, and it'll just make the rapper feel like, ooh, I gotta turn up for this part right here. All right, now with that being said, that's gonna conclude the video. If you like the video, hit the like. If you want to comment, throw a comment. If you want to sub, hit the sub. I'm out.